Tuesday. I call manager before I leave the house and get her to agree to setting up my portfolio page on the Hakoniwa website. I pack my camera safely in the pocket of my zip-up hoodie and set out early so that I can take the long way. I bike through downtown. Sometimes I have to get off my bike and walk it because there are too many people and it's inconvenient stopping at crosswalks to wait for the light to change. But the part of me that's been hanging out with Shiyu too long needs to see that all the places I visited with Spork are really there. We did just settle on Spork, right?
Yeah, we did settle on Spork.
Okay.
At least that was the last one I remember, I should say.
Yeah, that's the last one I remember. That I'm not in the process of being tricked by a fox or bewitched by a fairy or something. They're all there. I don't think I have to worry about that. I feel kind of silly for starting to suspect that I'd gotten the genre of my life that wrong. And also, I want to test myself a little. I want to see if I can still see what I saw yesterday afternoon, even on my own. And so, after something like an hour-long detour, I pull up the long, lonely road to Spork's little white house, feeling refreshed. He's outside already. He's outside on his knees in the dirt, examining the leaves of the hydrangea bushes. I don't know why, but for the first time I'm able to look at him and see a gardener. I'm able to look at him and see the responsible man deep down in there, hidden under the vague and spacey child. Hey. Pose.
Pose.
I call out and wave to him, and he swings around to face me. Before I realize it, I'm smiling. Even from this distance, I can tell his whole face is lit up just the way that Shiyu's always does when she sees me, and I'm smiling to see that. Yeah. The whole client and contractor thing's over and done with. This idiot is my friend. Just thinking that makes me so damn happy. Lucky the lighting is good today.
There's lightning?
Yeah. Apparently, some professional photographers prefer to shoot under cloudy skies, but I like highly saturated colors better anyway, and the sun means that I have to worry about leaving a shadow on the plants. I mean, I'm not a photographer anyway, so I'm probably lacking in some professional know-how, but I have a nice camera and confidence in my ability to make a decent composition. Why we couldn't use our phone, still don't know, but...
Yeah, I mean, you could still use your phone, and technically, if you go with cloudy days, that means you don't have to worry about the shadow. And then you can play with the colors on your own, but I'm not gonna quibble.
Yeah. Spork asks questions about my camera and distracts me, which ruins a few shots, but this thing's digital, so it's not like I actually care. It's pretty warm today. From the forecast, it looks like we're actually heading into spring for real now. So there'll be less fear of sudden cold snaps killing the entire garden off, even though Spork's still going to have to check for frost and such every morning. But it's starting to seem like we've really beat the odds. Anyway, it's warm, so once things swing around to afternoon, I actually wind up taking off my hoodie and leaving it in the house with my camera. Since we're standing around outside in good weather anyway, Spork starts asking me questions for when he'll be putting in his annuals once it actually warms up permanently. And as I'm answering them, absent-mindedly, there's a sound of footfalls on the grass.
Ah, Snapples.
I turn. I doubt my eyes. The person who's standing across the flat lawn from us is almost perfectly identical to Spork. At just first glance, I can tell that they're within a millimeter of each other's heights, and this man's hair is exactly the same length and style. He has the same unusually chiseled face, the same broad shoulders and heavy hands, even the same stripes on his face. But at the same time, he doesn't look like anything like Spork at all.
Are we sure about that?
His clothes, for one thing. Whatever close to the skin clothes they are, they remind me of something you see in a futuristic military anime or film. And rather than plain black and gray that Spork wears, they're gaudy gold and silver in color with patterns in red, so they stand out even more, and I can't imagine that they count as casual or daily use clothes. His hair and the marks on his face are red as oxidized blood, and his eyes are green. And most importantly, there's no expression on that face. I can't read any emotion in those eyes. It's almost like this man isn't a living person to begin with, just a doll or a mindless robot. Spork looks alarmed.
Yeah.
Beside me, Spork goes tense all of a sudden. Someone who studied martial arts as long as I have couldn't possibly miss that he's shifting his weight so that he'll be able to react to anything. I want to ask what the hell is going on, but before I can get my voice to work, the stranger that looks just like Spork raises his arm. His gaze is fixed on Spork, straight past me.
Target located.
His voice is nothing like Spork's. It's got a different tone. It's not as deep, and most of all, it's utterly emotionless. That alone sends chills up the nape of my neck.
Oh no, you weren't.
When Spork speaks, his voice is a low growl that I've never been able to imagine him making before now.
We're not doing this here.
But the stranger raises his hand at the wrist so that his palm's pointing towards us. His red hair lifts like an animal's rough bristling, and this time I really doubt my eyes. No, I don't know what I'm looking at in the first place. But from what I can tell, something like fire is blooming all around this man's arm. No, it's not something like fire. It is fire. What the hell? Spork passes from my peripheral vision, striding towards his doppelganger in steady, heavy steps. He's clenching and unclenching his fists as if bracing up for punching, and his pale hair standing on end at the base of his skull, just like the other guys.
I'm not going to stand here and let you destroy everything I've built up.
I still can't believe what I'm looking at. I still don't even know what I'm looking at. But these two nearly identical men squaring off, and the complete and total unreality of that fire appearing out of nowhere. The scene that looks laughably like some superhero or animated show aimed for elementary school boys has all its surrealism blown away when their first blows collide. Above and beyond the stink of smoke, it's the sound. After all the complaining I did about Spork's motorcycle, I'd happily exchange what I'm hearing now with the sound of its engine being revved right next to me. Because when Spork slams a fist wreathed in black flames into his doppelganger's open palm, it makes a noise hideously like a thunderclap. It makes me jump like a cat. I want to sit down and cover my ears and swear at them until they cut this the hell out, but Spork's in trouble. I know that Spork's in trouble probably before even Spork realizes it. But from his first strike, there's a fundamental problem with fighting an enemy that counters him as efficiently and brutally as his red blue shadow. The problem is that Spork does not know how to hit. He can make fire roll off his hands just like this other guy. He has the same height, the same weight, and the same brute strength. But he hasn't got the technique. He swings his fists and arcs instead of punching straight out from his body. He telegraphs every blow he plans to make before he even starts to move. And his guard's full of openings. See? He started off on the offensive, but it's barely been a minute and this other guy's already hedging him back. It's not hard to see how. He doesn't emote like Spork does, and his attacks are military precise. And I get the feeling, no, it's more than a feeling. This person's not aiming to subdue. Spork yelps. He's really letting out short and angry cries of pain every time he gets hit. So far he's managed to avoid getting a fist to the face, but from what I can follow from back here, his assailant's already battered his chest and stomach with strike after full force strike. Part of me's already bracing for the nasty sound of bones cracking. I may not understand what's going on, but that doesn't mean that I ought to just stand here on the sidelines and gawk. Whatever this person's after Spork for, unless Spork can fight him off, it'll mean that at the least, Spork's going to be hurt very badly. And I have no guarantee at all that I'm not going to be the next target, because I've seen this utterly ridiculous spectacle, and there may be the need to eliminate any witnesses. Nope. Fuck that. And I sure as hell don't intend to just stand by and watch this happen to a friend. I take a deep breath and move, circling around the two men fighting with long paces. In the end, I don't get much time to scope out the situation. About the time that I get far enough to view them grappling from the side instead of from behind Spork, the the red-haired stranger's hand crashes into Spork's stomach. Ooh, he does not look good.
Ew.
Spork's face splits in a snarl and he sinks down onto his knees. There's a noise like some hellish amplified sound of aluminum cans, like when you're pushing them down into the recycling bin to make room for more. And a red stain so dramatic that I can see it even against Spork's black shirt is soaking his front. His doppelganger draws his fist back, slowly drawing himself back to his full height, while Spork is busy listening to one side, gripping at his injury in the grass. I have about 5 seconds to question my life choices, and then the doppelganger lifts his bloody hand and sets it on fire, and I lose my willingness to make any other decision. I get a running start and kick the doppelganger in the side with all that momentum behind me. He stumbles, and as soon as I land, I swing my right foot around and slam into his diaphragm with my heel. Fucking hell. When the doppelganger raises his head, I almost falter going after him. Because even with the start of a nosebleed going, he still has no expression, and his eyes don't betray even the slightest emotion. Even if he'd been furious or murderous at being interrupted, well, I'd have expected that. But this blankness is just creepy. And the moment it takes me to halfway bulk, he's up and coming after me. Shit. Even if I block his fist with both arms, he hits like a fucking hammer. My forearms go pins and needles all over wherever his hit lands. I've never been hit this hard even by my strictest teachers.
Your mic keeps going out. I'm not sure if it's the internet or not.
It would definitely be the internet because it's fine on the Audacity.
Okay. So, the internet doesn't like you.
Yes.
Bad face.
And he's fast. At this rate, I'm going to be so busy dodging and redirecting his punches that I'll never be able to land any of my own. But, just as I noticed when he was fighting with Spork, this guy is too dependent on fighting with his upper body. I catch his arms in both my hands and use them to pivot, getting my foot behind him to attack the small of his back. Quickly, before he can react, I follow it up with an elbow to the nape of his neck and drive him into my raising knee. His hands grab at my leg, and just as he starts to pull me off balance, I gather my fist back, and once he's raised his head, I punch him straight in the face with all my strength, so that my knuckles split and my fingers sting. He staggers back. But his hands have lit up again. I manage to move away just in time to avoid getting my hair burned. Shit. If it's just martial arts, he's fucking strong and recovers fast, but I might be able to win. But if he can set me on fire like this, I don't know if I can wrap my brain around this weird superpower enough to factor it into my tactics, let alone find a way to win despite it. Even as I settle back out of arm's reach and try to rack my brains for a solution, he holds his hands up and moves his arms like he's pitching a softball, and the fire streams off his hands and right fucking at me. Shit. It was a mistake getting out of his range. It was a mistake giving him enough time to come up with using this fire thing on me. It was a mistake trying to approach the situation with common sense to start with.
True.
Yeah. I'm stuck leapfrogging backwards over and over. I managed to avoid the fireballs at least, but before I realize it, my heels are sinking down. When I check my peripheral vision without turning my head, I confirm that I'm in the worst possible situation. I've already been pushed back to the flower beds. Now I've got my back up against the wall, and I can only escape left or right, meaning I'll only have a 50% chance of getting away from the next attack. No, or this persistent asshole might just shoot straight and wind up burning Dia's house down instead. I mean Spork's house down. Like, obviously I don't want to get hit with this attack, but that's not a good outcome either.
Hey!
But, what I, and what the doppelganger and Red both fail to consider is that this isn't a one-on-one fight. It's a two-on-one. Because as long as we're not making sense here anyway, why would a fist through the stomach actually keep Spork down, right?
Keep the fuck off my flowers!
His lips pulled back out of his teeth in a snarl. That's what Spork says. The whole left side of his face is covered in blood. There's blood clotted in his hair, and the blood along his teeth makes him look almost frightening. And the heavy wound on his torso is still bleeding. But, Regardless of all that, he's still standing without even swaying. His weight's leaned back so that it's only his knees and hips are leaned forward, and he's holding his right arm forward with the hand wreathed in black fire. The red one turns away from me. He turns away from me to deflect Spork's attack with his own. In that gap, in that opening that Spork has made for me, I launch myself off the ground and hit the doppelganger with my full weight. Halfway through falling, he grips hold of me and throws me. I tuck my head down to my chest and manage to catch myself with my arms and roll, but that's knocked the breath out of me. But it looks like that would be enough. The red guy is still getting up, and Spork, and the noise of fire just now was really interesting. In a movement that may be graceful if he weren't covered in his own blood, Spork stretches up onto his toes. He claps his hands together high above his head, knits his fingers together, and then pulls them apart in a sweeping motion. His face is tilted upwards towards the sky. The rough lines of his throat and the faint lines of his pale eyelashes against his hard, bloody cheekbones. For an instant, I'm left breathless, not because of the physical shock that my body has been put through, but because Spork is as beautiful as a classical marble statue. Now is not the time to be thinking about art.
Yeah, now isn't the time to be like, oh, he's a statue. Bitch, you're in the middle of a life or death fight.
Yeah. Between his hands, above his head, a globe of black flame like a miniature sun blooms wildly. Spork lets his left arm fall to his side. He grazes the finger of his right hand along the globe of fire as if to pull it. On second thought, he really is pulling it. The doppelganger in red and gold is already struggling to regain his feet after my tackle. But it's too late. Spork screams with effort and brings the fire down. The doppelganger's silhouette is reduced to a blur for a moment. When the fire is gone, first I think it's had no effect, but the doppelganger isn't moving. Slowly. His body loses color and comes apart like funeral ashes, or like the seeds on a dandelion, and blows away on the breeze like it was never there. I have no idea what the hell I've just witnessed.
Insanity.
Yeah. I have no idea what the hell I've just done. But my body hurts all over. This is a really terrible coping mechanism to mommy. Like, having nightmares about fighting enemies is not the solution.
Yeah, this is really not the solution. Like, therapy, honey. There are actual therapists.
My back is bruised from hitting the ground. Red and purple marks are starting all along my bare arms, and my knuckles are torn and bloody. It hurts, so I'm not dreaming. You sure?
Are you sure?
What the hell? What the fucking hell just happened here? There's the sound of something heavy hitting the ground. Spork has slumped to his knees again. He's holding his torn stomach with both arms. His face is pale and sweaty underneath the blood. I'd really like to just lie down and start laughing. But there's still something I ought to be doing right now. With that being the case, I can have my hysterics later. 3 things happened after that. Technically, I guess 4 things. First, even though I still don't think I should count it because it's the obvious step, I got Daya into the house. I mean Spork. It'd be just our luck to have some passerby come up the street and see him covered in blood and make a big deal out of it. The second thing, the first actual thing, I still think, is that when I got the first aid kit and paper towels and scissors to cut Spork's shirt off, he thanked me but told me that he would be fine. I said something to the effect of, yeah, like hell, and got blood all over myself and the floor and the scissors cutting Spork's shirt open and yanking it off the parts of him that hadn't been torn up. And I mean the shirt was literally so soggy with blood that it was dripping everywhere. Luckily, Spork had someone familiar with menses taking care of him. Your average guy would have took one look at all that gore and fainted, but when you bleed more or less that much per month, it's gross maybe, but not gross enough to knock you out.
True.
It would really suck if you were female and had problems with blood.
Yeah, no, that'd be horrible. It's like, I can't stand blood. How do you get through the month? It's very difficult. Like, ooh.
Yeah.
Poor soul.
But the wound, the open wound that had to mean serious internal organ damage that had made Spork lose all that blood in the first place. Spork's muscles were untorn, and a new translucent layer of skin, webbed with fine little arteries and veins, was already stretched shiny over it.
Capillaries, technically, I believe, but...
Okay. Even I thought this was honestly really nasty to look at, so we're not even showing you what it looks like, to spare the sensibilities of the squeamish.
Thank you. Don't need that. Fee?
As I looked up at Spork's face from the second impossibility of the day, he was smiling at me, pained and miserable. Only agony and awkwardness warping that innocent smile into something that looked grown up and tired.
I heal fast. It hurts, sure, but in 24 hours or less, I'll be back to normal.
And the part of me, the sensible part of me, the part with the reasonable idea of reality, that had wanted to have hysterics makes me want to laugh at that. No wonder that ugly slice from the gardening shears had left nothing but a scar the next day. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous, but with proof right in front of my eyes, I've got no choice but to accept that if I want to stay sane. The third thing is that I realized that my own shirt has gotten so bloody and dirty that I had no choice but to take it off and wash it if I didn't want it to stain. So when I took Spork's ruined clothes to throw out, I borrowed his washing machine. My t-shirt's still in there now. I had to wash my hands in the floor before I put anything else on, so I did spend a little while roaming around his house with no shirt on at all, but weirdly enough I didn't feel awkward about that. Even if Spork cared about that kind of thing or looked at me in that sort of way, he's got enough on his mind right now.
You know, like, almost dying.
Like keeping his organs inside.
Yeah.
And once I was done with that, I put my hoodie back on. This is a pretty stupid complaint, I know, but the zipper itches and is cold against my skin. Apparently there are people who wear clothes this way to be sexy for people, but I think there ought to be plenty of ways to be sexy or whatever without having to deal with annoying discomforts like this. Either that or there are too many guys designing women's fashion. Go run him out of business, Natsuko. Grudge against you or no, I know who the real enemy is in this situation. Finally, my cell phone wasn't working, or rather it was out of batteries by now, so I used Spork's landline phone to call Shiu on her cell. She tried to get started on the usual ensemble of antics, but when I told her that now wasn't the time, she sobered up right away. At least she takes things seriously when she has to, which says at least something about her ability to take a hint. Something's come up. I can't explain right now. I don't know if I'll ever be able to explain, but I need you to cover for me if you're willing. Whenever anyone asks, I spent tonight over at your house hoping you study or do some kind of school project.
I don't mind that, but Senpai, I hope that whatever this is, it isn't illegal.
Well, that's a worry I guess I'd have too if someone called me and asked for an alibi. I'm glad she decided to take me up on my request without asking any questions other than this at least. She's a loyal kohai, even if her personality is a bit worrisome. It shouldn't be illegal. It's just a thing happened with Spork, and I don't want to ditch him right overnight. He doesn't want to go to the hospital this time either, and I can't force him. But having people ask a million questions about my relationship to him would be annoying, so I figure we should nip it in the bud. Shiu agrees. She doesn't ask what kind of thing happened, and we hung up after that. By the time all that was done, the sun had long since set. It didn't feel much like eating, and Spork had no appetite at all. I guess he might still have damage to his stomach to regenerate, but I raided his fridge for the energy. That brings us to now. She's probably long since made my excuses to my parents, so even though it's nearly midnight, I don't have any worries about people coming to bother us. Spork's been sitting in the dimly lit kitchen for hours. It's only now that he's gotten to look around, or to look normal. Like there wasn't a hole in him earlier. Like he's not going to faint if he gets up off the chair. I leave a water bottle for him, and he drinks pretty much the entire thing all at once.